Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Jørn and I am an enterprise developer. And yeah, I meant that to sound like a confession. So we're here to talk about enterprise IT, and like I'm thinking, it's obsolescence and the role of software in large organizations. How many of you guys are working or have worked in large enterprise organizations? Right, so I guess this will hit most of you guys then. That's good, because then you'll know what I'm talking about. But I do want to have a little caveat in the beginning, because when we talk about enterprise IT, where I come from, we don't mean just the infrastructure, the servers, the operations. We're also talking about software engineering, actually. And this can be a disconnect for those of you in the US who think of IT as just the operations and infrastructure part. So have that in mind while we go through this, because that has some bearing on what I'm going to say. So, a typical enterprise IT organization operates typically several large data centers with increasing numbers of servers. And it's responsible for the operation of huge amounts of client devices, desktop computers, laptops, even mobile phones these days. Typically also have the responsibility of standard apps like email, word processing, stuff like that, spreadsheets, presentation software, document management, ERP systems for travel and time recording, stuff like that. Also, we have a tradition of purchasing large suites of software that covers business needs, like especially large engineering application. And traditionally, these applications have been large, self-contained, and over the years, they've accrued lots of functionality. They compete with each other with functionality these days, and they typically lock in their data in proprietary data stores. So these are, I mean, the famous monolithic applications that were all the rage in the 90s and early 2000s, right? All large applications are saddled with these ones. And I think as a consequence of this, we've built all those large data centers to handle all these applications and their operations, all the databases that is associated with it. And we built up huge internal infrastructure and organizations with the cost accompanying this. And in some cases, we've also built some systems ourselves, right? Using these same monolithic patterns that we saw our vendors use, resulting in messes like this, both big and small. And I'm sure you all know some of these types of systems that we have around the organizations. And over the years, enterprise IT grew, reveling in its introversion, pulling in all the IT-related and software-related activities in the enterprise, and largely forgetting what was going on in the world around it. Sort of hiding there in the bushes. And heaven knows, it had enough to do with keeping control of what it had going on internally, right? Keeping the control and maintaining, keeping it up and running. Not to mention controlling all those pesky software developers who were trying continuously to innovate and make changes to the perfectly running systems that we already had. And meanwhile, in the outside world, there's a tremendous evolution going on. So we get mobile computing. It's becoming more and more mainstream, both in terms of phones, but other devices as well. And you know, the cheaper the IT technology gets, you get things like the cloud revolution, with the cloud data providers being more and more prevalent. And so enterprise organizations is being outperformed in more and more areas. It used to be the case that it was only the enterprise that could afford buying the cutting-edge technology. But nowadays, more and better technologies available to the consumers, right? So the best mobile phones are available outside the enterprise, and also the best computing environment is available to the consumers. And the cloud is coming with all its infrastructure and really it takes a lot of internal power. I mean, even the large enterprise cannot compete with the likes of Amazon and Microsoft and what they can provide infrastructure-wise, right? And here I think we come to the crux of the matter. What is the value of an enterprise organization, an enterprise IT organization? Over time, traditionally, it's been, like we say, the broker of data services and keeper of the large IT systems. And this is less and less of value. Of course, we have had the odd software development, but mainly we've built an infrastructure department, and so we had to make sure that we can control what we put in there so that we don't overtax those limited resources that we built up internally. And I think this has resulted in an abundance of control and corporate governance, really, that is limiting and inhibiting innovation in many cases. So if we peel away the infrastructure maintainers and the administrators, what are we left with? In our organization, we have some pockets of software engineering activities going on, and increasingly so, focusing on anything from high-performance computing. There is a lot of seismic data processing going on, which requires a lot of software engineering. We have more and more data analytics going on, cognitive computing, and also some web development going on, which is good for us and provides some innovation. We help our research department trying to focus on trying out different types of technologies in order to promote innovation. So in my mind, enterprises need to stop focusing on prohibiting and standardizing change and break through the glass ceiling that really is inhibiting innovation. So what does it mean when we say that software is the future of the enterprise organization? For me, it means that software developers and software development will be much more integrated with the business lines. And the enterprise IT organization that we know today will disappear. We need to transition into small teams working directly with the end users, delivering the software that they need, and small teams in this example here with this two-pizza definition from Amazon. And really be small and lean. We need to utilize the data that has been and still is being gathered throughout the enterprise. We need to utilize public cloud infrastructure using virtualized software-defined networking to couple everything together. We are really talking about DevOps here. We're talking about microservices. There is no longer a need for the internal networks and the illusory security that they provide. There should really be no difference if the servers that we use are outside or inside our internal network. It shouldn't be a difference if the clients are inside or outside the network. The requirements for securing our applications should be the same either way. That's a really important point. So, what type of governance and control is needed in such a scenario? We should try and reduce the central components and give more autonomy to the different business units. Still, we want to make sure that data can be used across the business units and that that we maintain the explicit interfaces that we need in order to collaborate. The central and common infrastructure should be reduced to our data and the interfaces between them that we need, and also the business services from one business unit to another. So, here's my vision for the future. And this is actually a future that we have started to see in our company already. It's just in the beginning phases. So we have a network of solution and software architects working together in close collaboration. And this network of architects will coordinate between the software development teams and make sure that these interfaces and practices are aligned, and that we can learn from each other in how to best solve our challenges in the business. The group will be the custodians of the public data interfaces for the different corporate data, and they will have the responsibility of making sure that data is accessible for everyone and anyone that needs to use it. And in order to make this happen, we also need this group to be supported by a reorganized IT organization focused on software development and DevOps, tasked with implementing and maintaining these small and focused microservices. So really, I leave you with this. Enterprise IT is dead. Long live software in the enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Jørn. We have time for one question.
That sounds an appealing vision. What do you think the biggest problem in companies the size of Statoil is going to be to actually making it work?
I think the size of the organization is maybe the biggest challenge, and being able to coordinate the efforts across large organizations like that. I mean, communication is always the problem, I think, when you boil it down. So getting that right will be the biggest challenge.